Hey, Roger Martin here from Billings, Montana, again with David Wilcock. Edge of Wonder. Is the Alliance starting to make a headway in the major media announcements? I hope so. This is very interesting.
A storm, that there would be something that would happen that would basically challenge the whole country and the world like never before, just like that white squall does, and that there are going to be trials afterwards, and that there's going to be hearings, right? And then the question is going to be, did the Alliance do the right thing to protect the planet, to dismantle these human trafficking rings, to stop child sex trafficking, cannibalism, pedophilia, all this crazy stuff from happening? Did they do the right thing? Was this the right decision? And so yes, that movie is critical. So now that you guys have told me this, you're literally saying, because this is the first I've ever heard this, that they played clips from that movie at the Golden Globes?
Yeah, and they showed the part where on the bell where it said where we go one, where we go all.
Where we go on, we go all.
Yeah.
What was the context? Like, when did they show this?
What you had originally said was Jeff Bridges had a...
there was a tribute to Jeff Bridges, and they were showing various different movies that he was in, and that happened to be one of the clips that they showed.
But when you put that together with the Fiji water and the vaccines, that's when you're like, something is going on here.
And I'm sure there's a lot more that we just missed. I guess there was like an archway that represented something too, but this was just the things that we saw right away. And then on top of that, you have Trump recently tweeted out that thing that said, I forget what the context was, but he spelled Scot-Free wrong, and everyone is making fun of him. But that movie was made by Scot-Free Productions, which was the same spelling that Trump had. So it just goes along with like all of like really what's going on, and like you just said, the calm before the storm.
And just to make this point, I mean, he's purposely spelling things wrong. When you look at what he spells wrong and the words that he uses, and you go look them up.
So again, for those that know QAnon messages, know Trump and his messages, when Trump specifically spells something wrong, it's a flag to say, go look what this is connected to. What is this word connected to? What are they doing? So it's a red flag for those that really know what's going on.
Yeah, Birder like actually means something that people need to know about, and then everyone just thinks he's an idiot, and he's really just telling people the truth through his tweets.
That's great. So let me get this out about these two specific Q posts, okay? So the first one is from January 5th, 2019, where they are...
Now, before David gets into this, we need to understand who's trying to push and run the Democratic Party. And it needs to be broken up and dissolved because it's anti-American, anti-freedom, anti-constitutional, and how do I say this? It is totally a socialistic program to destroy all the valuable things that we consider worthwhile in this country and in the world.
Once again, bringing up the Antifa flag, and they're showing that it is literally almost exactly the same as this flag from the 1933 paramilitary wing of the Communist Party of Germany, Antifaschistische Action, and then the 2017 paramilitary wing of the Democratic Party of America, Anti-Fascist Action. Same flags, same words, and this is apparently the deep state trying to do some sort of weaponized left military resistance to the alliance, trying to get people to actually pick up guns that they would be given, and this is something the alliance is really worried about when they start to make announcements. So anyway, it says right here, January 5th, 2019, this is post number 2645 on QAnon.pub. It says, complete blackout by the fake news media. Ask yourself why. Are they afraid of U.S. patriots engaging in the same tactics? Did the liberal left old guard engage and form organizations such as Antifa to combat and silence fascism, any such deviation from the controlled narrative? Do the actions of those patriots abroad destroy the fake news narrative where the majority agrees with the policies of the liberal left? And that's, of course, talking about the the Yellow Jacket protests happening in France, right? Then they say, all in capital letters now, we will not go silent into the night. We will not go without a fight. Do you believe this movement and the worldwide events are simply a coincidence? Divided you are weak, together you are strong. We, the people, have the power. EO active. Where we go one, we go all. Now EO active, EO is executive order. Now that's very important because that's January 5th. The executive order that they appear to be referring to is the one that amended the court-martial guidelines, showing that as of January 1st, 2019, they could put these deep state traitors on secret tribunals and try them as if they were military people. So they said the executive order is active. But then we have another one that happened a lot more recently as the time of this taping. It's actually the second to most recent one that's available right now at the time we're doing this, January 13th, 2019. And it says right here in post number 2672 on QAnon.pub, second line down below the link, it says, GJ testimony underway in several states. That's grand jury testimony. Those are the tribunals. The testimonies, the grand juries, the actual trials are underway in several states. And it says then, attempts to block/protect themselves will fail. This goes far beyond political corruption and sedition. What is the law governing the removal of a sitting congressman or woman or a senator? Lights on, meaning everything's being exposed. So they're actually talking about, if you read this, it's saying congressmen, congresswomen, senators being exposed in tribunals happening now in multiple states, several states, grand jury testimony underway. So here's the thing. What is really going on with the government shutdown? Why has it been shut down for so long? This is edging us towards a catastrophe.
All right, now very important points made here. They don't have enough staff to run all these people through at one time on these tribunals.
Again, really quickly, he said, get ready for the next round of leaks, monumental stuff. 2019 will reveal so much more. Department of Justice exposed, FBI exposed, fake news exposed. We're talking about something really big here. We're talking about what we've been waiting for all this time. And it can't stay secret for very long. They are trying to run these tribunals in secret, and their plan is that they might take as much as 1 or 2 years to run through everybody because they don't have enough staff to grab all of the people at once. That's a very important point. There's not enough personnel to go and snag people, unseal the indictments, bring them in for trial. So they have to kind of let things go slowly, and there's a part of the alliance that wants it all to stay secret. They don't want this to leak out. They don't want this to go public. They think they can just kind of keep this quiet for 1 or 2 years. But there's another part of the alliance that absolutely is going to leak it out, and they're very concerned about those leaks. So I want to be clear, even if you hate Trump, even if you hate anything having to do with the government, the warning that we're getting is there could be the 2-week disruption that we've all been hearing about for so long. You want to have 2 weeks worth of drinkable water. You want to have the ability to heat your house in case you don't have electricity. You want to have 2 weeks of food, and that really just comes down to a very cheap thing of going out and buying brown rice, millet, quinoa, which is grains similar to rice. Get different types of beans. You want to have some variety, but you can store the beans, you can soak them overnight and then boil them up. You can boil your grains, and you can survive on that stuff. You're not going to have a lot of fun, but you get some spices, you get some extra virgin olive oil. This is what they're telling us we need to have. We need to have 2 weeks of feminine hygiene supplies, 2 weeks of toilet paper, 2 weeks of fuel, 2 weeks of drinkable water, 2 weeks of food. And I would highly, highly recommend that you take this seriously. I actually did it. I went out and I bought $150 worth of rice, millet, quinoa, garbanzo beans, pinto beans, lentils, mung beans. We got some oatmeal, just to try to get some variety. I got a whole thing of salt, just to make sure I have enough salt, a whole thing of olive oil. I got a whole big thing of ghee butter, so I have that too. And we don't want to be foolish enough to assume that none of this stuff is true and get caught off guard, because there is going to be some hardship in the short term. There's going to be a biting through. It could get to the point where we have those types of disruptions in our personal lives. Q has said they expect to keep the internet running. So the idea of a total internet shutdown, blackout, they apparently have countermeasures in place to avoid that from happening. So I just wanted to get that out before we say anything else.
Yo, it's Igor.
All right.
In the last 30 days, I generated...
All right, we're going to end it here.
From the edge.
There's just so much there. You just went over, but just keeping it kind of quick, because we want to move on definitely to hear what you're saying next. This whole thing, what you're describing right now about you went out and, saving 2 weeks of food and whatnot. First question is, why do you think there's some people in the alliance that want to keep this under wraps? It seems that this would be a good thing to let more people know what's going on if these arrests happen. And the second question is, I guess, what would be the circumstances that this blackout would take place? Would this be like the alliance doing something to arrest people, or would this be like the deep state retaliating in some way in doing this?
It seems pretty unlikely. Let me just say this first. It seems pretty unlikely that there will be a power blackout on a mass level. That part of it, they seem to have compensated for. One of the briefings that we got was that, just like I had leaked previously, and I even talked about this with you guys, I believe, that the cabal had, the deep state had explosive charges that they planted in these bridges on the interstates that go over big chasms. So they could essentially decapitate the country. The governors of every state were told that this was used in case of foreign land invasion. So like if for some reason tanks came in from an invading foreign power, they could blow these bridges and prevent them from getting any more inland. And so that's actually a typical war strategy, but the problem is they have these temperature and pressure gauges that technicians have put in there totally innocently, where it looks at the barometric pressure, the amount of humidity inside the concrete holding up a bridge, allegedly to make sure that it doesn't crack and that it doesn't come apart. But what they don't know is that those devices have explosive charges in them and are run on GPS and can be remotely detonated. So not only is that the case, but there's a whole bunch of this kind of stuff that the deep state had created. They have, low yield nuclear bombs that could be put underneath airports, put underneath power stations, put underneath water stations, so that basically they could just wipe out all of our infrastructure. And so part of this coordinated military operation, the greatest coordinated military operation in human history, from what we're hearing, is that there are alliance people ensuring the security of power plants, whether it's hydroelectric plants, whether it's nuclear power, whatever the type of power is, ensuring the security of airports, ensuring the security of sewage facilities, water facilities, the major power transformers, major power lines, the bridges. So they've got all these people in place, very undercover, in plain clothes, with advanced systems where they have identified these various weapons that were going to be used. The weapons have been neutralized. The deep state will not be able to bring down the power grid, to bring down travel, to bring down communications, to bring down water, to bring down sanitation. Thank God they have thought this through far enough that they've got all those protections in place. So you better believe when they flip that switch, when they tell us the truth, when the announcements are made, there's so many countermeasures in place to prevent this thing from getting too bad. Now, with that being said, no plan survives the battlefield. So there probably will be isolated disruptions. Somebody flies a drone in and the drone's got a bomb on it, or who the heck knows what they're going to do. But there probably will be some disruptions. Then they also are expecting armed resistance groups like Antifa that will start handing guns out to people, train them for 10 minutes on, how to rack it, cock it, and shoot it, and oh, there's the safety. And you can't fire until you rack it once so you get a round in the chamber, all this kind of crap. They're expecting that there's going to be some skirmishes, that there's going to be armed conflicts with radicalized left. There's going to be armed conflicts possibly with militia types if they don't really understand what's happening. Definitely some degree of armed conflict with deep state military, paramilitary, paid contractors.
We'll see what happens. I don't believe in fear and terror, but a lot of this stuff runs on threats, on fear. So we're just going to have to hope for the best and work through it, because one thing is for sure. Never before in our lifetimes have we seen such battles going on in the government, DOJ, FBI, Homeland Security, Border Security, all these agencies. The president trying to get things under control and to work with white hats and other individuals, other groups, and accomplish what needs to be done to protect this country from being torn up and destroyed. And not just this country, these things are going on worldwide with world banks, gold, getting into our own money, controlling the Federal Reserve, trade agreements, so many things going on. You would have to be a genius and a master planner, which Trump is, and he's working with other people of that caliber to really control the mass things that are going on in this government and the other governments worldwide. But people have a clear choice which way they're going to go. And we're seeing this in Venezuela, we're seeing this in France, we're seeing this in Italy, we're seeing this in Taiwan, we're seeing this to some degree in China, we're seeing this to some degree in Brazil and other areas, we're seeing this in Africa and India. So many things going on in Europe, England, Germany, so many places worldwide this stuff is going on, these battles for their freedoms and rights. Again, this is Roger Martin from Billings, Montana. Good day.